There, hey there, hello and welcome to Extra Shot, presented by the Audio Roast. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. It's, boy, it's a cold one, but it's going to be a good one. Josh Yue, are you here with us today? Uh-oh.
I didn't unmute myself. I unmuted you, but I didn't unmute me.
It's all right. Not like there's 600 knobs over there.
No.
Twist and pull. Bop it.
Hey, there I am. Pop me up at the bottom right there.
There you go. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, buddy.
So,
how you doing?
like I said, it's getting kind of chilly, so we're going to warm up with some coffee tonight.
Cold, yeah.
You want to tell the fine folks what we're drinking?
I will tell the fine folks we're drinking. We are drinking LaBee's Intergalactic Brew.
That's right. For those of you who don't know who Nathan LaBee is, he was on our new metal episode that we had recently. You've seen some of his work in Lararium as well as the 417 Shred collab. So shout out to Nathan. You too can get some coffee. Just go to Nathan's webpage and check it out.
Can you see that right there? Right, it's LaBee's. It's an African blend.
Yeah, made from Ava, Missouri. So very cool.
I don't think Ava's anywhere near Africa, though.
Probably not, but at least it's close in the alphabet.
Okay. Hey.
Yeah. All right.
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and introduce who we got with us today.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. So we've got with us tonight a very special guest, a good friend of mine, owner of the Veracruz Group, the Outland Ballroom, and Odyssey Lounge, Kevin Dunn. How's it going, Kevin? Good, doing well. Calm down out there, audience. Calm down.
Is my mic on?
Yeah, there you go.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, you look like a sharp-dressed man, my friend.
Oh, well, as do you.
Oh, well.
You always look good.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you. So, you've got a lot going on.
I do.
You're not
quite a bit.
You're not a boring person.
Well, there's a lot going on. I hope we cover it all in the next hour.
I hope so, too. There's a lot of, I see as kind of a hub, if you will, of people like will come to me and say, hey, have you heard da-da-da, or do you know what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know.
Well,
so here's the source.
Now's straight from the horse's mouth.
That's my MO, and it always has been, and I wish it was more people's MO, just to say, hey, so what's up with this?
Sure.
Well,
hopefully we get everyone's answers.
That's right.
Everybody's questions answered tonight. So if anyone has any questions, I believe that you can just ask.
That's right.
Right here. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, good. So I'll try and cover everything the best that I can.
So
I'd like to start with
let's start at the beginning. Let's before we get to the downtown scene, let's talk about the Veracruz Group and what's going on there, because that's how I originally met you, even before it was the Veracruz Group, as a recording engineer. So what's going on that front?
Well, what's going on with that is I'm going to be moving back to the location that you're familiar with over at 1950 South Glenstone.
Okay.
I'd shut it down when we purchased the clubs in order to pay more attention to the clubs.
Yeah.
I also moved downtown at that time to be a little closer to keep an eye on things. But we did shut it down. I do miss engineering a lot, so I'm looking forward to getting back to that. We should be open there by the first of the year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Man.
I'll be taking clients in December as far as booking. Real excited about that. That's my passion.
Exactly, yeah. I know that it's been, I'm sure, fun and stressful owning a bar or two or three.
Yeah.
But yes, your home is behind a mixing board.
It is. So I really look forward to that. I have a lot of new gear that we purchased as well. I think I'm going to go, you know my setup anyways.
I
had the slates.
Is it all still set up, or do you have to go back in?
I have to go back and put it all back in there, which is fine. I think the place needs a little bit of touch-up paint anyways.
Yeah.
But I'm going a little more analog front end this time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which
nice.
I'm sure you'll appreciate that.
Yeah.
I want to get back to real drums and real guitars to stay away from the emulators and the simulators and the drum replacement.
Where everybody sounds like everybody.
Yeah, I kind of want to get away from that a little bit.
Yeah.
I was always better at capturing real sound anyways. I was actually not that great at using programmed drums. So there's some people out there that just can nail that sound. But for me personally, I need to get away from it.
Sure, and to be fair to you, I can also see the other end of the spectrum where you're trying to dial in drums, and it's like, God, if they would just get new heads, or if they, and it's like,
you do.
So it's an easy answer to just go, you know what, we're just going to digitalize this, and
you do run into that. Sometimes it comes down to a budget thing and a time thing, both.
Yeah,
it's just kind of get to the point. So, but yeah, I'd still love to get back to just capturing that raw sound.
Yeah,
just that raw sound of drums.
Yeah,
the power they have. Especially with a nice analog front end. So pretty excited about that.
Well, that's very cool. So I know that your, I don't know what you want to call it, your business structure, if you will, if I remember right, you had not only yourself, but you had other
Mhm.
engineers and stuff in there as well. Is that going to be the same case this time?
It might be. You're right about that though. Before it was kind of an open house. I had 17 engineers.
Good Lord.
At one point. I
We
had
have 17 engineers in town?
Well, yeah. Now, mind you, I would say like maybe half of those were college interns.
Oh, okay.
They were up and coming. But you know what was really cool about the whole thing is some of those guys ended up just turning out to be amazing engineers, and I'm pretty proud that's where they got their start. Some of them moved away. A few of them were like, did the typical thing. You run off to California and do your thing up in Hollywood or something.
Yep.
Some of them got into film, which always does well. And that's a good area to get into. But yeah, I'm excited about all that. Yeah, a lot of engineers. I don't know if I'm going to go that route again this time. I'll probably have maybe 2 or 3. I always have to have that many just to help with the editing process and the setup and the tracking process. I deal with so many artists that
17 would be a lot to keep up with.
That was a lot. I don't think I need that many this time.
Yeah.
But if you are a good engineer, you can hit me up and we'll talk about it.
There you go.
So.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. How many mixing stations or desks do you have, or is it everybody goes to the same one?
No, we're still going to have it split up in two separate studios.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was that way when you were there, though.
I think you had that room and you were like, we're going to do this over here and that over there. So I never got in after it was done, but I knew that it had been done.
We did. At one point, we had 3 different areas in there, but then you'd run into problems with, sound contaminating other rooms and, things like that. That became
bleed
a problem.
over and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yep. Makes sense. So beginning of January, end of December, you said?
Yeah, I would say the beginning of January I'll be back open over there.
Very cool. Very cool.
That's at 1950 South Glenstone. So,
yep. Awesome stuff. So for anybody in the Springfield area or not, come check out the Veracruz group. I've recorded there multiple times. Even like I said, at the Veracruz group at that location, and even prior to that years ago. Kevin knows his stuff. He really does. I wouldn't blow smoke. So,
well, thank you.
Let's hey Josh, can you hit that little doodad on the computer? The picture-in-picture for the other computer. There you go. Yep, that'll work. Let us go to the comments. All right, that was so worth it. Let's go ahead and jump over here to the comment section. Donnie Cockram's here. Good to see you, Donnie. Donnie says, yo. Donnie says, Kevin is quiet.
I do feel quiet over here. Let
All
me get
right.
a little closer to this mic.
Yeah.
There we go.
Renee says, yes. Yeah, so excited right now. Same. This is going to be a fun experience for sure. Julia Leigh Cobb is here. Hey, friends. I'm finally here. Welcome, Julia. Good to see you. Happy Sunday. Donnie says, I love it. Hey, y'all. And so let's talk about... Okay, let's even step into our house first.
Our house.
So you bought all 3 at what was formerly known as the Outland Complex, essentially.
Yeah.
And you took the Outland bar downstairs, turned it into a new bar.
Yes.
Talk about that.
What that was is I felt like the community needed more places that were open to everyone and all different types of people. And there's some other clubs in town that are great for that, some other spots. I just felt like we needed more of it.
Yeah.
So, I had really good friends, Trevor Sturley and Chris Cole. I'm not sure
I'm familiar with Chris Cole. I'm not sure if I've met Chris in person.
Just the most amazing humans, let me tell you, the most amazing people. What happened was when we started renovating things, well, first of all, let's back up a little bit. COVID was just happening. It had been going, I think we're like in month 2 or 3 of COVID, and none of us at that point knew how long it was going to last. Was it going to go away in a month? Was it going to go away
Were you nervous?
in 2 years?
Yeah, before we get into all this, were you nervous about, I'm buying 3 bars and COVID is happening? Are you like shitting bricks at that point? Or are you like,
not really, not really. No, not really. At that point, I had a lot of confidence because, let's face it, it's the Outland Ballroom.
Right.
It's legendary. It's almost one of those things that it had a built-in audience, a built-in clientele.
Absolutely.
I was more nervous about how long COVID was going to last.
Yeah.
Like, how long are we going to be closed?
Right.
At that time, it's not like they were making you stay closed, but you just didn't want to be open.
Pressure.
You had to protect people at the same time, And at that time, COVID was a great mystery. We didn't know a lot about it, you know. And I think at that time going into it, I was more concerned with how long is this going to last? Because, of course, no one's money pit is bottomless.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
so going into it, I was more like, okay, are we gonna be closed for 6 months? How many months do I need to cover the bills?
Right.
To be quite frank to everyone out there.
Well, and again, from the owner's standpoint, your employees too are out of commission. So yeah,
absolutely.
It's not just your plate in your pocket.
Now,
it's
going into it. I can say this though: the community is really a strong community. And there was a lot of backing and support, not even just support, but like financially. There was a GoFundMe that was set up, and the locals came through. I can't remember what the final numbers were.
35?
It was way up there. By the time I got the place, I didn't actually get the GoFundMe because it had been used a little bit for some previous bills while, and stuff like that, things like that. I think by the end of it all, by the time I actually took over, I think there was like maybe 17 or 18,000 left in there. What we did with that is we worked out a deal with the landlord, just to be transparent. And we worked out a deal to where he would cut us a break for the next 3 months if we just paid all up front. So I took the last of the, I think it's 16 or 17, and I just gave it to him and said, here you go. And then we were paid up 3 months. At that time, we started doing the renovating. So he knew he was
secure for 3 months.
Yeah, and then we didn't have to worry about it, so thank you, everyone, for that. That was amazing, by the way. We really needed that help. And, then we got in there and realized, well, it's kind of, it needs a little bit of love. It needs some toilet seats. It needs some stalls. And,
some stalls and some doors. And
some things need fixed here. So as it was one of those things, as we got a little further into it, COVID just wouldn't go away. So next thing we know, it's been 5 months. It's been 6 months. And at that point, we still didn't feel comfortable as a team opening. We could have opened, but it was still mysterious. It was a great mystery, mysterious. We didn't know what was going on with COVID. We didn't know how bad it was. So we decided to stay closed, and we just kind of kept it that way and kept on renovating. Next thing I know, we've been renovating for like 7 months or something. So then I started stressing.
Right.
It's at that time that you're like, okay, can we open soon? What's going to happen here? So yeah. We at that time I met Trevor Sturley and Chris Cole, and they were amazing people, and they threw their idea at me, and I thought, well, that's kind of cool. At the time,
their idea being like, hey, give us a couple nights a week or something at the bar, or
well, no, they said they'd come in and even design the area over there.
Really?
And I got to tell you, I had my hands full at that point.
Sure.
I was so busy messing with Odyssey, and at that point we hadn't even started on the Outland Ballroom upstairs.
Yeah, you were doing that totally separate. Let that be
totally
its own
separate. Yeah, so we were just like, let's get Odyssey open. And we even struggled for a while, even changing names versus keeping the name front of house and whatnot. But branding wise, and I don't know, and just when we got in there, by the time we changed everything, the further we got into renovating, what happened was it just didn't look like front of house anymore.
Right.
So at the end of it, we just stood back and looked at it. It was Johan Collins, Seth Keen, and myself. I think everybody's probably familiar with them. We just made the decision, why don't we maybe just change the name and just kind of rebrand this a little bit?
Yeah.
At that time, our vision, which is still our vision for the most part, was to separate demographics into different rooms, because before you just didn't know what you were getting from room to room, because every room had all genres in it.
Yes.
So we thought, we need to separate this. We need to like maybe have live instruments, bands, maybe on the top floor, and keep anything electronica driven in the Odyssey downstairs.
There you go.
And I felt like there needed to be like the identities needed to be realized.
Yes, and I strongly agree with that, actually. There were times where it was obviously beneficial, like if you had, like, I've been in metal shows where it's like you're bringing in a band from Kansas City or, from St. Louis and all your locals, and it's like there's a bill so big that it's hard to put all those in one of the three venues, so it's cool to be able to split it. But like you're saying, it's smarter to have that identifiable, this bar is this bar is that.
Yeah, and it really helps with branding, which in return helps with marketing. You can target people better knowing, okay, this is the room that we're putting them in. All the promoters know, hey, if you're going to book, EDM, then obviously that goes in the Odyssey. Yeah. So it helped.
What about the patrons? Did they have a hard time going, but ballroom's kind of our place too? Or are they like, this, what you've done to the Odyssey is great?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. It was, it's like anything in life though, right? You're going to have some people are upset and things do change. Yeah. Some of the changes I actually didn't feel even like maybe I'm not making the right decision. You question yourself too, right? Yeah. Like, am I
There's
doing
no handbook.
this? There is no handbook. So that was stressful. Let me tell you, like, how are people going to perceive this?
Right.
How are
trying to walk the minefield, not piss anybody off.
Well, there's literally people I think that met in these places that like got married and had kids and stuff. Like their lives together started at some of these places, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of memories there. Had to be really careful with that. At the end, I think it all worked out fine. Well, the main thing is just trying to pay attention to everyone and what they're saying and try and somehow make everyone happy. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. On the R House thing, what happened was Trevor and Chris were so good at what they do, they blew me away. And when they went in there and they decorated that place and they renovated that place, I got to tell you, Have you been in there yet?
Yeah.
Have you seen
yeah.
that?
And it's if you've been there when it was the Outland Bar, you're not even going to recognize the
It's
place.
totally different.
I mean, in a good way. And
yeah.
And I mean that to say that it's totally different. People hate change, but that's one of those change that, like, when you twist their wrist, it's like, yeah, but okay, that's pretty damn cool.
I'll tell you
because
what
it
makes
just needed to happen. There was a lot of wasted space down there too.
Yeah, and I think what makes it all okay is when you walk in there on a Friday or Saturday now, and there's so many people in there, and they're all happy, and they're just having a great time. They ran the place for me as managers for nearly an entire year. And then, I was like, gosh, these guys have done so much for the community. They just deserve this spot. And once again, to be transparent, there's a lot on my plate at the same time. And I thought, wow, if I could just have them just take this over entirely, how great would that be?
Sure.
So in August, I sold it to them. They own it now. They're doing an amazing job. I'd highly encourage everybody to come out to our house. It's a very safe place, open arms for all walks of life.
Yeah. Which I will say that I appreciate that. At the top of the show, there's obviously, we just had that shooting in Colorado Springs, Colorado last night.
Yeah, I just heard about that earlier.
And I hate hearing that there's not safe places to be sometimes. So thank you for doing that for us.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
That is something else. I mean everybody.
That is something we should note is we do try and wand everyone metal detection wise, and we try and keep it as safe as possible. We always have really tight security. So I consider it a pretty safe place downtown.
Yeah. Good. Is it still accessible to go like from the Odyssey and circle through the room and that kind of thing? Okay.
As a matter of fact, we had to make some changes. You know what? This is a good time to bring up a whole other topic. It's about our liquor licenses. I'm sure everybody's wondering about that.
Yeah, let's get to the dirt.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. So in order for them to become owners, they had to get their own liquor licenses, right? So here's the thing. My building is 322, 324, and 326 South Avenue. My liquor license covered the entire building. In order for them to get their own license, we had to do a few things. First of all, we had to build restrooms over there to where they could no longer use the restrooms that were off of the Odyssey. So we had to seal that door up entirely, build the restrooms. We had to do a few other things as well. But anyways, long story short, there's 3 different liquor licenses, right? There's state, city, and county.
Correct.
So state basically said, hey, you can't just remove an address, right? You can't do that. You got to actually reapply from scratch.
Wow.
So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, but unexpected one.
It's okay. It was for a good cause. Like I said, it's popping over there. They've got their licenses in place. I'm really glad that they're open and everything. Everything's going great. But yeah, in return, I did have to apply from scratch. And I don't know, the public may not know this, but as bar owners or club owners locally, they know what I'm talking about. This stuff takes forever, guys. Okay?
Yeah, this is. I mean, you could have all your stuff done, but it's a sit and wait game.
It just takes forever. It takes forever. So, anyways, I finally got the state license ready, and then I took it to the city, and the city kind of said the same thing. Hey, we're not going to let you just remove that license. And city takes longer than state.
Which is stupid.
Yeah,
I mean, since it's right there, the office is right there.
Yeah, so fast forward, here we sit here 2 months later, and now we're finally getting it next week.
Good.
We should be back up and going next week. That's a huge relief because I got to tell you, nothing was more painful than losing the biggest month of the year, October.
Yeah. I
was certainly hoping to be open by then, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But that didn't happen. Missed the pub
That just means
crawl.
next year is going to be even bigger.
It'll be really good.
Yeah.
So we're looking at being open by December 1st. Hopefully I get my license next week in time to order liquor because, you have to order on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and you get it dropped off on Friday and stuff. So we'll see what happens there. But we're aiming for the beginning of December.
Very cool.
And I want to say I appreciate everyone's patience through this because it's been trying. In the meantime, we've had to move a ton of shows, which, by the way, were amazing shows.
Right, yeah. That's got to be a little bit of a buzzkill, huh?
Well,
you booked all these great shows to be in your venue, and it's like, it's
well,
great.
Let's see. We moved Dirtwire and Liquid Planet and Chris Webby and Andy Frasco. Tonight, as a matter of fact, we moved Machine Head. If you're not doing anything tonight, guys and gals, you should go to the cellar because Machine Head is happening here in about 1 hour.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going. So I would highly encourage everyone to go to the cellar tonight and see Machine Head.
There you go. Let's take some comments. Kanita Silva says, we are here. Good to see you, Kanita, owner of RC Flea Mart. Julia says, I was running late. We had a trial of some essential food items. A trial run, of some essential food items. It was tasty success. Now I'm ready to talk about music in Springfield. Dan Delaney says, I think toilet seats was one of the investments in history. And one of the.
I got to say hi, Dan.
Right.
How you doing?
Yeah. And until the Odyssey renovations, for sure. Renee Dunn says, I know how intelligent and talented Kevin is. I'm just excited to hear his ideas and backstory.
She's just saying that because she's my sister.
See?
I think.
There you go. So let's talk now about what people can expect when they go to Odyssey.
Well, Odyssey now has been turned into, well, let's face it, it's really a rave club for the most part.
Okay.
It really is.
Yeah.
We do throw a lot of rap and hip hop in there, but more often than not, we throw a lot of electronica music. I'm a huge fan of electronica music.
Sure.
I always have been.
It's super popular.
I love it anyways. I go back to like the industrial days when I was listening to electronica blended with rock and metal anyways. I'm a synth like freak fanatic.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh yeah. So I love modern EDM. It is so pissed off sounding. The way
Right.
Just the way it's made now. It's almost like metal as electronica.
Right. With that aggression. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they've gotten really good at the tone shaping when it comes to it as well. It's just pretty amazing. And then of course you've got Johan Collins, who is like the god locally of
He knows
EDM.
a lot about the EDM scene. It's astonishing.
Johan's been doing these types of shows for I remember him back in Branson back at the day, like the suplexes back then and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's been doing stuff. Heck, I remember him in Branson like 15 years ago. He was throwing hopping stuff then.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah,
wild.
when you go to the Odyssey, you can just expect a lot of energy and a lot of fun.
So
a lot of fun.
A question I have personally is, I know that my band, sometimes we would do a show upstairs, and maybe it was just a slow night, like a Wednesday night or something. They're like, let's move it downstairs.
Yeah.
Is that going to be something that may happen still?
That does happen. I try to prevent that from happening, and I actually don't like moving shows from top to bottom.
Okay.
Or bottom to top, vice versa. Sometimes it's out of your hands. Sometimes it had to do with like a problem with electrical or something.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes there's
it's
just
an old
technical
building.
issues, which we know nothing about on this show.
Yeah. Sometimes you just don't have a choice. Either
Right.
that, or sometimes, even though the Odyssey, and this is something else we did through our renovating, is we ended up getting the capacity in the Odyssey the same as upstairs.
Really?
Which was amazing. We ended up adding like 120 people
Wow.
in capacity, so that worked out really well. But still yet, I feel like the Odyssey, when you get like 150 to 200 people in there,
It feels great.
it
Feels so good.
but
yeah.
it feels busy, like
Yes.
busy enough.
But if you had that
Yeah.
same 100 people, you'd be like, it's only like a third full.
Yeah, so there's been some times that we had someone downstairs and they just did so well online
Yeah.
that we thought it's going to be a little more comfortable
Yeah.
if we put them upstairs.
Yeah.
So there's that.
That's fair.
Sometimes we have to move stuff. We don't have a choice, but for the most part, we try and prevent that.
Right. Okay. Donnie says, I can't wait to start booking punk and rock acts through the week at Odyssey.
Oh, let's come back to that. Actually, let's get to Dan.
Okay, you got it. Dan says, I'm glad we got to play the first show at Odyssey, grand opening for Thomas. Yeah, Thomas Cook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Thomas. I miss him.
Yeah.
Dan, that was a good show, man. That was a happy show, too. Like, everyone was there. We all came together. That was a really good show. And I was so excited because it was actually, like you were saying, the first show there. And I was nervous because it was like,
Everybody, all eyes on Kevin.
Is everything going to work?
Right,
Is the sound going to work? Is everything going to work out? And I got to tell you, it worked out amazing. We generated quite a bit of money for Thomas. And, that went really well. So,
Very cool.
On that Donnie thing right here, because, I just said the Odyssey is mainly EDM, but I want to talk about something real quick. Donnie, good friend of mine, my brother, I've known him for maybe as long as I've known you, actually, quite a while. Donnie is pretty well known in the industry locally.
Mhm.
Everybody loves Donnie, right?
Yeah.
Everybody loves Donnie. There was something that happened recently. We got really, really unfortunate news that the cellar was closing.
Yeah.
And the cellar, I considered it kind of like the go-to hub for all the local musicians. Like, they need a place to play, right?
That was like my favorite. You were talking about building identities for your venues. To me, the identity that they were building were singer-songwriter, original.
Absolutely.
Like, spot on exactly what this town needs.
It needs it, and now it's gone. It's
Right,
leaving.
yeah.
So what I'm doing here is, even though the Odyssey for Fridays and Saturdays, we have to pay the bills.
Yep.
On Fridays and Saturdays, we're going to have EDM, larger artists,
Yep.
or rap, artists that are on tour and things like that, just to bring the money in and stuff. But what we did do is we allocated our weekdays and said, hey, why don't we give the artists that are displaced
Yep.
somewhere they can call home? If anything, over a long amount of time, or even if it's temporary until someone else opens up and takes that,
Gotcha.
you know, and they become the new spot. Either way, going into this, it's the locals that support us. Without them, we wouldn't be open in the first place.
To do the
I
big
mean,
shows.
they
Right.
are my boss. I mean, literally, everybody's like, it must be cool being your own boss. It's not even true. Like, every person
Right.
that walks through my door is my boss.
Yep.
Like, that's how it goes when you own a place.
It's a smart way to
So
look at it.
we just want to give them somewhere to hang out and have a good time. They're going to be displaced. There's something going on, though, I got to tell you, with what – do you know Cole Arnold at all?
I don't think so.
Well, anyways, you know Pat and Alley.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
well,
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking
so
about.
Cole is taking over Pat and Alley.
Yes.
Now, I got to tell you, I know Cole very well, and I know the person that bought the place as well. And I really feel like that's going to become the next seller,
Gotcha.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's going to have a nice stage for everyone. It's going to have good sound. And I think that the vibe there is going to be that vibe that they're looking for.
Good.
Now, in the meantime, Donnie has come on board to help me out, and everyone is welcome to come and hang out during the weekdays, maybe possibly a Friday or a Saturday here and there. Who knows?
Sure.
We'll see what happens. Depends on booking. But if anything, we are open for you. We love y'all. And
Yeah, I think
all there is
that's fantastic, and I definitely there's a few things I'd like to get into on that. But from my experience, whenever I was running the Riff, a lot of times I would plan the overhead being paid on those weekends because those are
Sure.
your money shots, you know. And it's hard sometimes to book shows for locals when it's like you got to kind of keep it open because what if you know you have such and such date on hold for whatever touring act, and you want to feed the masses with that kind of stuff,
Sure.
obviously. So for me, it was like renting the room for private events and stuff through the week, which it sounds like you're kind of essentially doing the same thing, but with
Yes.
local musicians,
Mhm.
which I think is fantastic. And what I want to talk to you about is what you posted on Facebook saying that you were going to be totally transparent about it as the trade-off. Like, okay, here's what is your reasoning, if you will, behind that? Is it just to show bands, hey, this is what it is?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh, okay, yeah.
Because
So-
because before you answer, I want to say that sometimes I feel like there's hard conversations that aren't had that kind of need to be had sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
And I
believe
think that
too.
opening a book up and saying, okay, yes, but this, and this,
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
and that people then could take it and either grow from it or
Yeah.
fuck you, and not.
Yeah. Well, you know what it came down to. I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because the whole reason we wanted to do this as well was not only to give people a place to perform, the locals that are going to be displaced, but we also wanted to kind of like try a business model out, a new business model that a lot of locals have been asking for.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, being a local artist, it just doesn't pay that well.
Right.
So a lot of these folks are out here. They struggle really hard. And bless their hearts, they need to be heard. You know, they're artists, and you're an artist.
Right.
I'm an artist as well. We both love music. It's very important that everyone has a place to share their art. Does it mean that they can bring in a big crowd always? It doesn't mean that.
Right.
Okay, so it is a business. It is a business.
Right.
So here's what happened is we said, you know what, why don't we go ahead and take care of all of the overhead as a trial run and see how this goes. Let's get the locals in here through the weekdays. Let's see how this goes. If we can somehow bring in enough people to just cover just the overhead or something, that would be fine.
Right.
You know, I'm going to cover the overhead myself, though.
But you're talking about doing no cover charge. at the
No
door,
cover
like-
charge. You know what? If you're an artist, you can just come play there. And not only that, I'm going to try and pay you. You know, I'm not sure how much I'll be able to pay. But but either way, it's important that people get paid. We don't allow pay to play at our venues anyways.
Okay, I'm glad that you brought that up too because
we don't allow that. Now there's confusion, I think, on what pay to play is.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we need to
Yes,
talk about
I
that.
agree. Let's go there.
So let's go there. Pay to play is when a promoter or a venue tells the artist that you either one have to sell a certain number of tickets to perform. Okay? Now, telling an artist, here's some tickets, sell as many as you can, that's different. You're not telling them a set amount. You're not saying, hey,
You're
have
not
to sell.
setting a bar and saying if you don't hit this, you
yeah.
might not get booked again.
What we don't allow is this. We don't allow promoters to say, you have to sell 20 tickets or you can't perform. That's pay to play. But they are allowed to say, here's some tickets, sell as many as you can, see you at the show. Let's have a good time.
Right.
There's a difference there.
Well, and
Okay.
and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because whenever I was at the Riff, we did our tickets virtually. So
Sure.
there was no like, here you sell tickets. It's like share
Sure.
this link and get people there. Is that, do you still have a lot of shows that have physical tickets that people are selling and stuff?
All of our shows, almost.
Okay.
Well, let me think. Well, yeah, most of them.
Yeah.
I would say most of them.
Okay.
What happens is the bands will even request tickets for their own friends and family and
Okay.
stuff. But the thing is when they sell tickets, they keep a portion of that ticket. They're basically, you put them in business for themselves.
Right.
You say, like, let's say here's 30 tickets. Sell as many as you want. However many you sell, you keep X amount of dollars from that ticket for
Right.
yourself.
Okay.
So you're just putting them in business.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
I actually don't make any money off the door. Never have. That all goes to the promoters.
Yeah.
So I only make my money off liquor sales.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
That's how
Yep.
I do it. Now, pay to play can also be charging people money to perform, and there's a very gray area here. Okay. It's divided by a thread of hair. Let me tell you. I don't allow a promoter to say, you have to pay me $300 to perform on this stage. That's pay to play.
Right.
But I do allow a promoter, if it's on a Friday or a Saturday, if he thinks that they might have a harder time bringing people in, I do allow him to say, hey, if you want to book a show on a Friday or a Saturday and we're going to pass up a touring act, you're going to have to meet us in the middle or help us with the overhead.
Right.
So is that pay to play? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it depends on how a person looks at it. I just know that on a Friday or a Saturday.
In my opinion, it is, but it's more of everybody's got a dog in the hunt. Meaning, like,
Sure.
you can't just be a local artist and go, yeah, but I'm a local artist. I brought 3 people. It doesn't matter. It does
Right.
matter.
It does matter.
It does matter. And, you should have a dog in the hunt on that.
And really, I think I think something happens there when you hold people accountable for their own fan base as well.
Yeah.
I think that when you tell someone, hey, you know, look, we're gonna match you on this cost. Like, let's say we pay $300 and you pay $300, or we pay $200 and you pay $200. You're meeting them halfway. You're still absorbing accountability. Now, here's what happens: you're putting some of the accountability on the artist. And I noticed that when you do that, they miraculously sell more tickets.
Yeah, there's a good portion of people in town that think they know how to promote and stuff, and it's like, you're barely trying.
We've done it.
If at all.
We've done it a few ways, and I got to tell you, me personally, whenever I've just let an artist come in on a Friday or a Saturday with no money, with no accountability in the game, no nothing, then in that case, it just seems like they don't maybe try as hard.
Yeah.
You know. Now, there's something to be noted here. Whenever we split a door cost in any way, shape, or form, like we were just talking about, we don't get the door; the artist does.
Right.
So, is it pay to play? Because if they get all of the money from the door except taxes at the end of the night, if they got 50 people to show up or 70 people even, by the time they paid their half, they would have made money.
Right.
So they're actually paid to play.
Right.
They're paid to play in that case. But what you're really doing is you're putting artists in business for themselves. You're saying, forget the promoter, nixnay the promoter. You're the promoter for your own show.
Yeah.
You're responsible for your own show. And if your show doesn't do that well, then you're not going to do that well. If your show does well, you're going to do well. We don't interfere with that. Like I said, I'm just here for the liquor sales.
Right.
So now I could never in my life afford, just to be completely transparent, I can never afford to be open on a Friday or a Saturday with covering all costs on maybe a local show, a non-touring act.
Right.
If I did that, the Outland Ballroom just wouldn't exist.
Exactly.
Neither would the Odyssey. They just wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So it's very weird. We're also living in 2022. Things change a lot. If anyone has any suggestions, recommendations, if they have a new business model they think might work, I'm totally open to that idea as well. You know, we're kind of filling out some things with the weekday shows with Donnie anyways to see if that business model works, because I did have maybe 10 to 15 locals say, well, why can't you just do it this way? Well, okay. We're going to do it that way.
Right. Yeah.
And let's see what happens.
Exactly.
All right. Let's see what happens.
Everybody's ideas are welcome, but you can't do everybody's ideas at once.
Absolutely. So we're going to start here.
Right.
We're going to start with this one and see what happens with it. So,
part of what you're talking about is something that I wanted to bring up so that people have some clarity on. Like you were saying, alcohol sales is where your bar makes money.
Yes.
That was the same way when I ran the Riff. Our shows got the door 100%. For the most part, there was a few exceptions, but our money was made, our overhead was paid, our bills were paid from alcohol sales.
Sure.
So let's say you have a band that comes in. Let's say you have 2 bands that come in, and one band packs the place out, 300 people, but it's minors. So you're not making a lot of money. but when you look out, you're like, damn good night. Versus you've got somebody that, is my band. Well, I'll put myself in that shoe. I've been in the scene for 15 years playing music with my band Death May Die. There may be shows where we only have 20 people.
Yeah.
That's not successful on paper. But maybe our crowd drinks a lot.
There's a big
which
difference.
one is, in your eyes, which one is a success and which one is going to be more welcomed if one or the other back to your place?
Well, we do both.
Okay.
We have plenty of shows that bring in a lot of minors. Now, there is a thing called a minor surcharge.
Yep.
The minor surcharge of $5.
Yep.
That normally goes to the venue because we know that they're not going to drink.
Right.
Plus, we have to hire extra security because they're a liability.
Yeah.
Let's face it, they're underage.
Another point on that, again, from my perspective when I was at the Riff, thank you for $5 and not $2. $2 doesn't do shit for anybody. Let's be
$2
honest.
doesn't work.
That was $2 in 1990.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's one of those, like, it just never changed. So now that it is, please don't complain about it.
I think the Riff is 5 now, or is it still at 2?
I'm not sure now.
I think it's at 5 now. I'm not certain. I'm not certain if
might
that
be.
changed with new ownership or not, but
Might
it
be.
seemed like it says 5 on the website. But anyways, yeah, that $5 surcharge just basically helps us hire extra security. We can't lose our liquor license,
Right.
And let's face it, when
Well,
you
it
have a
kind
room full
of
of minors,
cushions some of that lost alcohol sales too.
Well, yeah, but
Right.
it's mainly for security and to kind of like. Honestly, it's mainly we normally have to have like a couple extra security guards on those nights.
Yeah.
I mean, just walk around making sure that people aren't.
Well, you want to
buying
make sure that
drinks.
people's kids are safe.
Well, yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely want to make sure that people aren't buying drinks for minors, and
Right.
you catch people in the restrooms doing shots and stuff
Yeah.
at these places, and so you gotta have a $5 minor surcharge. I mean, that's all there is to it. But that does go to the bar. It helps us offset those
Yeah.
nights. But we do welcome both. We don't turn away anything based on age. I can't think of anything that we've done.
For
like that, so.
From the majority of the time that I played there, the
Mhm.
Outland has always been, the ballroom has always been all ages. But obviously, things are
Yeah.
always subject to change.
But like you have a good point though. Like when your band comes, they drink.
Right.
I mean, so they're both successful in my eyes because also the minors that are there are going to come back when they're 21 if you treat them right. They're going to look at you as like their home base.
So the person that
So-
submitted this question to me, that was my comeback to, was you're also welcoming new eyes in.
Sure.
And keep in mind, there's only a 3-year, for the most part, turnaround from the time the person is 18. I can't drink, but I feel safe in here. I feel like this is a cool vibe. I'm going to
Yeah.
continue to come, and eventually that person will be 21, and you'll make your money at that
And
point.
I think there's another way to look at this. I'm 47 now. I've been in entertainment my entire life. I've been through my stomping years. I went through my party phases when I was younger. Aren't younger people allowed that?
Right.
They're allowed to do that, right?
Yeah.
And let's face it, a lot of people, they've been going to Outland Ballroom for 17 to even 20 years. How long has it been? I think it's been open for a while, right? Like 19 years, 20 years.
Yeah,
Before me,
something like
So
that.
some of these people, they met their love of their lives there, and now they're all grown up, like I said earlier, with kids and stuff. We want to cater to them the same way we do youth. I do maybe in some ways favor youth a little bit, and the only reason I would say that is I feel like us older people already had our moment. We already
our
had
moment,
our shot.
And our minds are already made up. We're going to go see the same bands that we see.
Absolutely.
And we know and
I
love.
just feel like it's fair to let the youth have their moment.
I think it's more than fair. I think it's smart because if as a whole, and I'm not talking whole local, I'm talking a whole music industry, will die if we don't keep bringing up younger and younger generations.
Well, let's
to get
face
them
it,
involved.
it normally goes like this, right? In the entertainment industry, the labels, the clubs, the nice recording studios, they're owned by older folks normally.
Right. Yeah.
It's the youth though that's making the new music.
Yes.
It's the youth that's really casting their dollar votes.
It's the youth that has something to
towards-
say in their music. Too.
Absolutely, and I want to hear what they have to say, and I'm all about that. So my entire life I've worked around people younger than me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think there's something to be said about that as well. I think that it's fair.
Okay. Another question I was submitted that might be a little stingy.
It's all right.
There's been a couple people that have asked the question about door charges being added on. Our show is $15. Come see us on such and such night. And then you talk to somebody that are like, well, I was charged $22 to come in.
You know what? I've heard this before.
Okay.
Here's what happens every time I've looked into it. They normally get confused between pre-sale and day of. You see, if you buy your ticket the day of the show, it's always $5 more. if you buy it before.
Is again for transparency, is that advertised that way?
Oh yes,
Okay.
like if you go to by the way, we use eTix online and stuff like that.
So like it's on the flyers, like.
Oh yeah, it'll say pre and day of.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So there's a pre-sale, which is normally $5 less.
Right.
So a lot of times what people do is they'll go on the website or online, they'll see the price, and then they show up and like, well, wait a minute, this is $5 more. Well, that's because it's a day of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that way. Just so everyone knows, it's that way on every single show.
Yep.
That's
how we did it at the Rift too.
You always pay more money the day of. It's
Yep.
always that way. So I would just recommend get your tickets in advance because we do sell out.
Right.
So that's what I would say about that.
Okay. Cool.
Now there was one show that happened. There was I can't remember who it was now. There was a man, I can't remember now. I'm trying to think.
I'll tell you that one of those shows was mine.
Was it yours?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a metal show or something like that where the door guy was confused.
Yeah. Something happened.
And now that.
So when somebody else submitted that question and said the same thing, I'm like, well, I'm definitely going to ask.
Yeah, and I can't remember. It's been months since I went over that anyways, but it seemed like when I talked to the door guy, he thought prices were one way when they were actually another way. But that was a simple mistake that night on that door guy just not being informed right, which was ultimately my fault. So whatever that show is, if you overpaid, you can hit me up and I'll give you the difference back.
Yeah. No, and that's you already did without even knowing it. By the last show, you just handed us our money up front, and I was
that's right.
I was like, you know what?
Okay, well, cool then.
Yeah.
We're good.
So thank you for answering that. Let's jump over to some comments again. I don't want to make people feel like I'm leaving them out, but we're having a good conversation. Julia says, I missed the first 8 minutes of the show. Is there anything I missed? You have to say it louder for people in the back because I am the people in the back right now. No, if you missed the first 8 minutes, you obviously missed a fantastic 3-minute countdown. But no, you're pretty much caught up. Donetta Dunn says, hi, Kevin. I'm very proud of you. You come from a musical background. Your grandmother was a performer in her earlier years, and you are carrying on that heritage. Thank you, and I love you.
Oh, thank you, Mom. Love you.
Aw, that's awesome.
That is.
Kanita says, I always sell pre-sale tickets for the Gypsies. And Dan says, from what I've noticed, however, that certain styles or genres have lost a lot of support demographically. Almost feels like musical diversity has diminished. It's been very hard to get local support. Yeah, I'll speak on that too. That I feel.
Write that down. I'm not sure. I want to make sure I understand the question or what he's.
So let's see here. Lost a lot of support demographically. I'm assuming he means by age and or genre. Almost feels like musical diversity has diminished, which I find interesting because I feel opposite. It's been very hard to get local support. That I agree with.
I think he's on to something here, though. To be fair,
I mean,
maybe
to sum up, probably. And Dan, please correct me if I'm wrong. Back in the day, in the 90s and early 2000s, Springfield had a fantastic metal scene that was just next to none. And now it is like pulling teeth for local bands, like his band, like my band and stuff. But then we still yet have breakthrough bands, like, you have Troy and you have several different bands that have broke through on that. Maybe he's asking for advice. What are some things that you see as an owner, perhaps that bands can do to garner some of that back?
That's a real tough question because I think that comes down to the way different people handle their band's business, or like maybe how they market themselves, or maybe.
Do you think it's the music itself?
I don't think it is. And by the way, I know Dan. I know his music, and it's really good. So I mean, I don't see why he would be having a good time, or having a hard time or anything to get local support. I think that maybe. I don't know what that is. Because Dan's music is good.
Yeah.
Maybe, Dan, you could just get a hold of me and meet up with me sometime, and we can sit down and put our heads together and see if we could figure something out. Maybe throw a good show together that jumps to different genres.
And that's something that I personally think would be a good solution, Dan, is something that a lot of that you were saying that lost support demographically and diversity has been diminished. A lot of that is because as a metal band, we look to other metal bands to play with. And it's like, why are we not looking at like rock bands or an up-and-coming artist that writes original music. You
Yeah,
know,
maybe,
like why
maybe
do you
that's
limit
it.
yourself?
And at the same time, I just don't even know if that would work either. So I'm going to be
As long
quite
as it's not
honest.
too- yeah, yeah.
I'm just not even so certain I have the right answer for that one, because that one gets pretty deep.
That's
There's
fair.
so many variables in that,
Yeah.
in an answer for that. So,
Yeah.
but I can't say, Dan, you should just reach out to me and we'll figure something out.
Can
So-
I chime in?
Yes, please.
I think part of it
Pop in
Also-
on screen.
Well, let me see where I can. There I am. I think part of it also is genre-wise, rock and metal, and I've said this, and it's been controversial, is going the way of jazz. You look at the top 40, name how many rock songs are out there. I think genre-wise, that music is going more EDM, more hip-hop and rap-oriented.
Yeah.
And so I think the audience is not out there. It's the younger crowds are not running to rock shows because they're not being exposed to it on a national level. I mean, name the top 10 songs.
That's a good point
Yeah.
you have there. And, this might go back to something that we talked about just a while ago when you were speaking with me about Raucous Group and how I was going back to analog.
Right.
Okay. I feel like youth has been raised on synthetic music.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
you run into an 18-year-old, 19-year-old now, they don't really know analog sound anyways.
Right.
Their ears have only heard programmed
Right.
drums. It's only heard
True. That's very true.
Unless they're super like artsy and they hunt down music from the past and are into vintage music or anything like
Right.
that.
Somebody that has an old
Their
soul.
ears are tuned to a completely different style of sound.
Well,
So-
even if they're into vinyl, like the vinyl that's being produced nowadays of like these rap groups are digitally recorded. They're just pressed on the vinyl.
Absolutely.
So
It's
they're
still-
not getting the analog warmth that
Yeah,
would
so I
have
think what
of a
happened
record
with
fest.
metal here, and I feel like this happened maybe 10 to 12 years ago, when metal started getting in, you could blame this on Joey Sturgis, really. I mean, but when producers thought, I'm going to take the easy way, and I'm going to use that kick sample that I got, and I'm just going to use that over and over and over, even though I can change the velocities, which is only the volume, it still sounds different when you hit a freaking bass head is different.
Right.
So it's not the same thing. But anyways, just changing the volume from hit to hit is not the same thing as playing drums. But anyways, they still do that. And what happened was I think that youth got used to that sound, but it also devalued. It took like the monetary value of art diminished with
Right.
that laziness.
Yes.
I think is what
Yeah.
happened. But it's not the fault of the youth. I think they just know what they've heard since they were born.
Right.
So I think unless it sounds like what they've heard, they timestamp it.
Right.
Yeah,
Almost.
it's less
it's-
it's less of here's a blank canvas, let me paint, and it's more here's paint by numbers, do what you can, and it's kind of set for you.
That's a good way
Yeah.
to put it. That's a
Right.
good way to put it. So
And also
go
groups
ahead.
that are playing say like Ernie Biggs, who are playing stuff that's like from the 80s and has like this huge nostalgia feel. It's stuff that their parents would listen to. So
Sure.
they've been exposed to it, but as far as new relevant music,
Something
I
they would
just-
pay a
yeah.
cover to go see.
Yeah.
maybe
To
not.
actually go
Exactly.
see, yeah, I
or
think
even
there's a
to try
difference.
out, say, oh, hey, there's a local metal group. I don't listen to metal. Now, if this group was going to play something I recognized that my parents listened to and I was into as a kid, sure.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. So I hope we answered Dan's question. It took us down a little bit of a path.
Yeah.
But I think it got answered there.
I do have a question too. What do you think the community could do to reach out to like the younger age groups? Because one of the things that I've complained about is I don't know what venues are doing or bands even are doing to like hit the college campuses to promote themselves in that way. I see these.
Well, you just mentioned
clubs-
one of the best
Yeah.
ways. You just mentioned one of
Yep.
the best ways. It's not that difficult to go to the sorority frat houses and just
Right.
be really nice and say, "Who's running this house? Could I
Right.
give you a flyer? Would I like
Yeah.
to invite you out to our show?"
Right.
It's not that hard to do. I really think that that's a good way to do it. There's also places downtown like Sky 11 because a lot of the youth hang around downtown. You notice.
Mhm.
You can go to like Sky 11, and I know the owner's there. This is for everybody out there. I can get your flyers put up in all the elevators and pasted if we got posters all over the place.
I love the
I
fact
can-
that
I
you're
can-
willing to
you know.
work together on that.
Right.
It's
Oh,
not
well,
like
absolutely.
It's just you or it's just me. It's us.
Absolutely. Anyone out there that's an artist, all you got to do is hit me up and talk to me.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of different ways of marketing
Yep.
things.
My approach, my mindset when I was at the Riff was the people that are there that night performing, the band members, the act, the magician, the whatever,
Mhm.
is a part of that team.
Mhm.
You're part of like the employees for that night.
Yeah, that's
you know,
right.
and we're all trying to garner success for everybody. So good on you for doing that
It's-
with everybody.
Well, as I said earlier, without the local artists, there are no clubs.
Right.
So the thing is, we have to figure out a way that we can all take care of each other, and we can figure this out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a matter of setting down. That's another thing I noticed. A lot of people are just, if you just would talk.
That's
to
the thing.
people.
Thank you.
I mean,
and I was just about ready to go there. People don't know how to communicate anymore. They
Just-
know how to do this, bitch, 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 bitch. But it's like, where are you trying to actually find a solution or to
all you
offer
got to
help?
do is sit down and talk.
Yes.
And you'll notice that people,
Even if you don't have answers.
it's-
Here's the problem.
But the whole
Think
idea
on
is
it.
to come up with an answer together, right?
Yeah.
And you're not going to do that without sitting down and talking. So, but we're not going to fix that. That's a social media thing that won't go away. I
Sure.
don't think ever.
No,
It'll probably just get worse.
I do agree. I do agree
So-
with that. Yep. Deb, good to see you. Dan says a lot of the young crowd don't like watching us old dudes playing, and their parents don't want to get out of the house to catch a show either. It's a bummer.
Dan, you should just come and sit down with me, and we'll figure out a way around that.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out there.
You know, I take exception to that. I mean, our band plays a wide variety of stuff, and the younger kids dig some of the old stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's I don't think clubs are. I think the young kids are looking to meet up to hook up or whatever, but they're looking to meet people and to get dates and stuff like that. And I don't think they feel that those types of venues are the places that are the party scene. So they'll go to the dance clubs and they'll go to the raves and stuff like that. So I don't know if there needs to be a rethinking of how we brand the venues as some places where you can have a good time and you can meet people and you can listen to live.
Maybe some of it also is location, because I really feel like the younger folks are more into downtown. The older
Right.
folks do not want to deal with
No, the
finding a
old folks
place to
don't.
park.
I think
then
right there is a big part of it.
They just
Huge.
don't.
I started coming out in 2003. It is
Right.
now 2022.
But we were cool
I'm
with
of
it
the age.
then.
Yes, I did that.
We
I
were
would
cool
go
with it
downtown
then,
and yes.
Yeah.
But
And now I am becoming the God. I don't want to mess with parking, and I don't want to drive. all
it's
the
a
way
pain in
downtown.
the butt.
You know, and it's like, so I
it's-
get that, and I think that mentally we have to stop and think of that shift. It's not, and sometimes mentally we think that it's still 2003, and it's still people are going to come out
Yeah.
the way that we did when we were young, and it's like, dang
Yeah,
it,
and then
no.
you've got, of course, you want to go out and have a good time, and who, if you think about it, you got to go downtown, you got to find a place to park, and then you're going to be kind of drunk in a little bit when you leave, and there's cops everywhere, and it's like,
Right.
gosh, am I going to get an Uber home? Oh wait, I got a career, I got to be at work.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think things are different. I think it's easier to park at places like Kiss and Southbound,
Right.
and the Riff, for example. I think they have better parking. I think it's a different type of people that go to those places.
Yeah.
Carrie's is another amazing place. Archie's is amazing. There's a lot of clubs / bars that these locals can perform at that I think fit better demographically.
Yeah.
So
But also to speak on that point too, let's not forget that people also don't mind doing that parking job if it's at the Galois or if it's
Right.
JQA, so it's like
so
there is
which
a bit
is
of,
it,
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
So that would come down to just like how big the talent is, maybe if the talent's big enough, they'll wade through shit water, right? Can I
Right.
say that
Yeah,
right now?
yeah,
Probably
You can
Yeah,
say
but-
anything
not.
you want to.
but you know what I mean? If it's
I do.
if someone they really want to see.
and that's
So-
kind of where I was going to go with this is, and again, I mean this directed at nobody, but sometimes we also have to look within ourselves as creators and say, it's like if my band was 7-Eleven and I'm like root beer. Well, maybe not everybody wants, I'm
Right.
not saying that if you're a metal band, hey, you got to do a country song too. No,
Yeah.
I'm saying like don't be such a gatekeeper maybe and think that you only
Yeah.
have to play death metal and only, just
Yeah.
a little bit go out and welcome some people in, show them what
Yeah.
you're about, and open that up. Quit trying to narrow that demographic like Dan said, and
That's
then
a good
wonder
point.
why
That's-
nobody's there.
That's a good take on it. I like that. So yeah.
And
Mark-
also, there's also just real quick, there's a lot of responsibility on the artist to be entertaining.
yes,
I mean, if you can't
Yeah.
get like places like Ernie Biggs, you're not going to keep a crowd if you're boring and you don't put on a show and you don't make it interactive and give people a reason to stay there or to come there.
right.
So
My
my band my band would love to play Ernie Biggs. We had a great time the one time we did do it, and we think getting us down there would broaden our fan base. But I don't know how many bands are actually willing to do that.
Well, and it would also come down to whether or not Ernie Biggs accepts that. You know,
True.
they're kind of in the same spot where they know their clientele and they know their patrons and they know who goes there.
Right.
So I'm sure they're no different than me or Mark at the Riff or anyone else. We kind of know what works in our places, and often the decor is set in such a way it's kind of designed towards that demographic as well. So maybe it's just difficult to convince them in a sense that you're going to do okay there.
Right.
And then, of course, if you do convince them, well, you better do okay. They're probably not going to bring you back.
Well, and that's
You know,
something that I've
so-
always tried to explain to people, too, is a lot of times a venue is taking a gamble on you and your success as an artist. And it's like, you have to make us, I say us, I'm out of the game now, but you have to make that venue at least a little bit assured that you're trying.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
it's, you recognize that you win some,
Yeah.
you lose some.
Sure,
You're not
sure.
a dick about like, well, we were hoping for 100 people tonight and only 56 showed up. Like,
Right.
you're human, and you know that
It
people
happens.
are human.
I
You
mean,
know,
well, there's been plenty of times, in all fairness, that I booked someone and my
Yes.
show sucked.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Like the show that I booked, that I promoted, had no one turn out.
Yep.
So, I mean, it happens to all of us.
Yep.
It is what
does.
it is.
Yep. It's not a perfect science.
Mm-hmm.
Mark says, what is the business relationship between Odyssey and Sweet Emotion?
Sweet Emotion is owned by Seth Keen and also Johnny of Mixtapes, and the old owner, Jamie Cox. I think everybody knows who all three of those people are.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, what happened was, remember when I said earlier we were doing that renovating and it took forever?
Yep.
Like 6 months later, we're still renovating. 8 months later, we're still renovating.
Right.
Well, during that time, Seth and I were goofing around one day, and there was that little window off over there. And I was like, man, do something with that window. And he was just goofing around. I think he was just joking, really.
Yeah.
And he just came up with this idea, and look at him now.
Yeah.
You know?
Is he getting ready to move
Yes.
to a different location?
Yes.
Okay, so that that little window is going to now be back to whatever it
Yes.
was or whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I think that we're probably just going to make that a box office walk-up window with merch
I think that'd be
as
smart.
well. You know, I don't have a kitchen in there to make anything, and his idea was so amazing because it doesn't take a lot of space to do what
Right.
he was doing.
Yeah.
He could get away with it.
Right.
But
Well-
but serving any other type of food, I don't think would
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
be. There's
Yeah.
no kitchen in there, so I think we're going to turn back to that. Now, Seth is moving. Sweet Emotions is moving right around the corner. It's on Walnut Street, right next to Black Sheep.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but let me tell you, this is nice. I've seen the inside of it.
Very cool.
This is exciting.
Yeah,
So,
I saw he just posted a picture like a couple days ago, I think.
Yep, it's getting there. Now, mind you, when they went in there, it was like nothing.
Right. Yeah.
So
Let's see here. Door Guy Mix Up was on one of my shows. Haha. It all got settled and it's all good. Thank you for that, Mr. the Sick One.
Mr. the Sick One.
Yeah.
So we had two shows. Maybe there was more than that. I
think
don't know
that might
about.
have been. It might have
So
been.
I'm like,
the same
hold on a
show.
minute.
It might have been.
Oh, is it?
It might have been our show
Okay.
together. Yeah.
Okay.
But it sounds like it got settled, so that's good. Julia says, not a question, but a nostalgic comment. Bender would not exist without the Outland Open Mic Night, which is where I met my brother Mikey on May 15th of 2003 and played open mic 7 days later. So what
Aw.
Kevin said about the memories formed, he's right. Nearing the 20-year mark from that meeting.
Oh, that's amazing, though, isn't it?
It really is.
That's what this is all about. It's really this.
Right.
If we just somehow just keep it going, you know, it's
Well,
keep it going. You know,
I had
that's amazing.
before I moved to Springfield. Like I said, I moved here in 2003. I had two bars that were the reason I would come up to Springfield on the weekends. One was the Ballroom to go watch Machine Gun Symphony.
Mhm.
The other was Martha's, and just the feeling of connection and community and stuff. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and move to Springfield, and I've been here for 20 years now.
And look
almost.
at you.
So same, like
Yeah.
it really does mean something. So good on you for
Well, good.
recognizing
I
that.
appreciate that.
But the thing that she did bring up was open mic. Is that something that you
Oh.
might entertain?
You know, only if I could somehow convince Justin Larkin to do it.
Oh,
yeah? I really like Justin. So, you know, he's a really good host. I've done open mics in the past, but finding a host to do an open mic that's consistent and has that right personality, I think is difficult to find. You know, it's very hard. Donnie tried it, bless his heart, but I kept booking shows instead. What happened was it's supposed to be like on a Thursday, and then I'd have like an agent hit me up with a big show, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, let's put the show on, you know. So, but I think that Donnie could resurrect that. Possibly Justin Larkin could do that. Remember back in the day when Symphony Ray did the open mic? You remember that?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
It was before my time.
Okay.
4 years ago. Her open mics were amazing. Amazing, just absolutely amazing. If I could get that type of energy and that vibe back, I'd be more than happy with an open mic. I love the open mics. It's maybe something that Donnie can figure out during one of these weekdays. He can make one of those an open mic and run with it.
There you go. There you go. Julia says, in my last visit to Odyssey was to see Jared's band, and I dragged a bunch of my kiddos along. We were halfway to Springfield from Kansas City on vacation anyway, and they loved it. Passing on the love of live music along the best I can. Good on you, Julia, and thank you so much for coming to that show too. That was awesome.
She seems like a really nice person.
She is good people.
I actually don't know her. I don't think.
Well, I'll talk to you out to the show. Her band Bender had been together, like she said, for 15 years.
That's really cool.
Right around COVID and stuff, took a hiatus, and now they're back. So, but it's weird for them because she's based in Kansas City. The rest of the band is Branson, Springfield. And so she feels like she's kind of out of the loop, and people have kind of forgotten her. And she's like, "Wait a minute."
Oh wow!
So well, she would love a place to be able to call home.
I would say we need to get her back up in here then.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I agree. Tony says, "Great show, thank you, Tony. Appreciate that, man." Renee says, "Kevin has always been talented. I knew he was going to be doing something musically with his career when he was a teen. Very smart and proud of him too."
Let's go to Dan's right here. What's this?
Okay, let's see here. Most of my gear is from the 80s when you talk about analog.
Okay.
Time to upgrade, brother. No. Yeah, no, there's something to be said about that, right? Like, it's cool to have ventured over into digital a little bit to get a feel for it.
Yeah.
But really, when you look at the big scheme of things, digital is trying to easily recreate analog, and it's like, why not just go analog then?
Well, I'd rather just record a real guitar head and cab
right,
than try and just, you know.
Yeah. Renee says, and I'd like to say that I know a lot of youths who attend Outland and Odyssey and love it. Yeah.
That's great.
Yep. Kanita says, I've noticed a lot younger crowds coming to our show. Good.
This is good.
Cindy, hey, Cindy, how's it going? Outland Ballroom has been my home away from home. I drive 2 hours from Pittsburgh, Kansas, park at the Loft by Starbucks, and walk across the street. I like it and feel safe. I need a good rock show, but EDM would be fun too. I want to say thank you for being open to other genres and stuff. I think a lot of us as patrons get so in the rut on what we're willing to take in that it's good to get
absolutely
something different. Dan says, I went to Slipknot and kind of was disappointed in the turnout. It seemed like there was so many empty seats. Best show I think I've been to.
Slipknot. That wasn't at our place though, was it?
No, I think that was at the Shrine.
That was at the Shrine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And he also says, when we do local shows, we are going to stay hanging out in handbills and investing in physical advertising.
Hey, that actually works. Like the physical part, just being in person and actually,
And again, it's something that you as a venue owner can track and say, hey, I see them out there on the streets. They're at least trying versus just posting something online. Deb says, love Symphony open mic. She was great.
Oh, just amazing open mic.
Donnie says, sounds good to me. I'll put a message out and see if I can get Justin Larkin to host.
Well, that would be amazing. I've spoken to Justin, and I would love to have him over there. I really like him a lot.
Let's talk about Donnie, and again, for those that maybe have just tuned in, talk again real quick about your kind of new business structure, what you're doing, and how people do they reach out to you? Do they reach out to Donnie? How's that all working?
Donnie's handling all the weekdays.
Okay.
They would all reach out to him. You'd only want to reach out to me if you want to put on your own show and not use a promoter.
Okay.
If you don't want to like go through per se like Johan or Seth, and you feel like you can do your own show and you can handle that responsibility, then I would recommend just reaching out to me personally. And when I say personally, I mean not through the Outland page or the Odyssey page.
Dunn.
To Kevin Dunn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you got any other questions that we haven't discussed, or maybe you're nervous about asking for whatever reason, go ahead and ask that now before we wrap up today's show. So, Kevin, what are some shows that you guys have coming up then once you reopen in the next week or two?
Well, we've got a bunch that we haven't announced yet, actually, because I didn't know what was going on with the liquor license. So I intentionally held back on shows, and I informed.
Well, I'm not looking for a scoop.
Well, what it was is I told my promoters just hold off for a second here, because this moving shows thing is kind of
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of work to have your own shows, but then to try to find a new home for them.
So I think the best thing I could say about that is give me about a week, and I'll just make a big old post about the shows
There you
coming
go.
up, because there's a couple that are up in the air as well that I'm not certain
Sure.
what's going to happen with those. So
Do you have?
if you
do
want
you
to
have
go,
a lot of touring bands? Kind of.
oh, we got all
possibly?
kinds. Oh, all kinds of them.
Okay.
And of course, you can go to our Outland page and the Odyssey page and just go under events, and it's going to tell you what we have announced. It'll just be right there, anyways. But you'll notice that it's looking a little vacant at the moment.
Right.
We did that intentionally at the moment. So
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Julius says, as a former Springfield downtown devotee, I used to just show up downtown and wander into all the clubs and hear a bunch of different bands. I'd drop a few bucks for each cover and drop into Outland Ballroom, High Life, Abyss, Cully's, Murphy's, Patent Alley, and there was something different and great everywhere. It was weird. It was a weird slice of time that doesn't seem to happen anywhere anymore.
she's kind of right about that, though. I think what happened, though, is a lot of clubs, of course, we lost them due to COVID as well. You
Yep.
know, we had an awful lot of things shut down here.
Well, and again, going back to what I was saying about the venue having to take gambles, they're bringing some of those gambles closer to the vest. They're not willing to
Right.
gamble so much yet
Right.
because
Right.
everybody's still nervous about,
Very, very nervous. Now, I can tell you there's going to be a couple of clubs. I can't say anything actually too much, but there's a couple clubs that are going to be coming back, all right, next year.
Okay.
So hopefully we get back to the way that things were.
And again, as a musician, I do still see through those musician eyes a lot, and I hear so much people saying it feels like there's just not anywhere to play anymore. I get how that
Yeah.
feels. I know that, and I do agree. But it's good to hear that it's not.
It's coming back, though.
nothing's written in stone.
Everyone just hang in there because
Right.
there's some really good things coming that I've caught wind of that's going to be pretty. It's going to be game changer, as a matter
Cool.
of fact. So everybody just hang in there. We're fine.
There's
Everything
room
will be
for
good.
everybody, man. There
Yeah.
really is. Yeah. All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, Josh, do you have anything to add?
Nope. I don't.
Okay.
Well.
Renee says she remembers the Abyss. Yeah, to be
I
honest.
played in the Abyss a long time ago, like 96.
Where was the Abyss at?
What is that, McDaniel Street? Just kind of south of on the south side of the street that Murphy's was on. And
I'm
it was
not
just
sure.
up a little ways. I can't remember what it is now.
I see. So was it just like a one-off club that happened, and then after that, no other clubs opened there? Or was
I
it
don't
like other
think
places?
anything else opened up after it.
I
Yeah,
see.
But
I remember hearing about the Abyss. I moved to Springfield and had just missed like the Juke Joint and a lot of the really legendary places.
Right.
But again, Ballroom is still open, and that was one also. So
yeah, the Abyss was a contemporary of the Juke Joint.
another thing I want to say on air,
Mhm.
thank you also for buying the damn Outland and all that and
Oh.
saving Springfield from what it could
Oh,
have been.
that would have been a mess.
Honestly, it would have.
Oh.
So I've heard so much flack online at some points about the way things are handled and stuff. First of all, it's physically not your business, so everybody's going to handle a business different.
Yeah.
But just remember and keep in mind, it could have been a hell of a lot more.
It could have been. It could have been.
But I do think that you're
so-
doing a fantastic job.
Well,
and,
thank you.
And
I try my
as a
best
friend,
on
I'm
that.
proud of you for
Well, that's
putting in
cool,
all the
man.
effort. That
I
you have.
appreciate that. And I just want to let anybody know, if you ever have any questions, all you got to do is just message me.
There you go.
Any recommendations you have, anything at all.
That's what I did to get him on
So,
the show. It's
yeah.
not like he's a hard man to
Yeah.
get a hold
just
of.
message me and I'll answer you. So
Renee says she used to hang out at the Juke Joint. The Abyss, Cully's, Nathan Pease.
Mhm.
Donnie also says, I was 14 and got into the Abyss. This lady thought I was 23.
Donnie.
You still look 14. What are you talking about? Kanita says, I wonder if gypsies would do well downtown. What is your take on that? Because that's something else that I've heard, that a lot of people are kind of not so big on original music
Mhm.
and almost getting that way for cover bands,
Uh-huh.
putting all their ducks in a row for
Mhm.
tribute acts.
Okay.
Where are you at on that?
Yeah, I'm down with that. We already do a lot of cover bands at our places. But yeah, I think that's.
But that's not like a venue, an avenue that you're going like, hey, I'm going to put all my ducks in this basket kind
No.
of thing. Like, okay,
No, I love cover bands. I
There
love
you
them. I go see them all the time. That's when I go to like Carrie's and Archie's and Southbound and things like that.
that's something that I do appreciate
Yeah.
about you. Again, when I was at the Riff, you would pop in there from time to
sure.
time, and it's
Oh sure, and
it's cool to
I
see
love
that support.
I love the cover bands. Oh, Tiffany, look at this. Good friend.
Tiffany says the Abyss became a church for a short time. It's next to where Whistler's / the Sandwich Shop was or is.
Oh, I
okay.
see.
Okay, I'm with you. I think I know what you're talking about now.
Okay. Well, Tiffany, I hope you're doing well.
Same, Tiffany. It's good to see you.
You know her too?
Oh yeah.
Have you heard her sing? I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
She can sing.
Julia says nothing is now where the abyss is. Got it.
Very good.
Yes, McDaniel, you could see Murphy's just down the street from it.
Yep.
Juke joint back door was across the street from it.
I'm just not aware of that area.
Dan says, Kevin, let's make it happen.
Well, we will. Just hit me up in my inbox, buddy.
There you go. And Julia says, I probably have about 1 million stories about my time downtown for another time. There you go. All right. Well, I don't want to keep Kevin too long, and honestly,
I have a Machine Head show
we've got stuff to do and shows to go see. So
Machine Head Seller tonight.
there you go. Do it. Kevin, thank you so much, man, for your time and for being so generous. Thank you. Appreciate it. Guys, we're going to go ahead and head on out. Don't forget the times are hard for everybody, so may your cup of coffee and your love of music be strong, but your sense of humor even stronger. We'll see you right here next week. Bye.
Aw.
Oh, we out of time.